try to help them because they don't have food and they don't have clothing, and oh, we're gonna collect the money and buy the food and buy the clothing, and we're gonna build a shelter for them. But it's not the permanent. Yeah, it's not fixing. Yeah, it's not fixing. Fixing the problem, right? That's why we need to think about what we are doing. It is really effective and it's really help them. Sometimes without any strategical understanding, so sometimes we do something is really good hard, and it is such a really nice idea, good idea, and then it's really essential for them. That's our thought. So we gotta plan out how it works, and then if it doesn't work, how we can fix the problem. Yeah, I can give you a example that actually happened in Africa, and just think about think about the Africa countries, and they have a lot of problem with water, fresh water, right, clean water. So a lot of organizations are trying to dig the water for them and make the filtration system, and then provide the clean water. And one of the ideas is that it's about $1 million project, and they dug the water and they make the filter system, right? But how can it be sustainable, right? That's a really good idea, and then they got a good idea, and then they made playground under the above the filtration system, right? And and then let the kids play and running around the wheel, and then once the water automatically comes out and clean. And that was a good idea, right? In the beginning, kids playing with the wheels, and they run, and then it's really fun for the kids. And they have clean water. What happened later on? Do you know, to play with the kind of playground, and it's not always fun. The kids are getting tired, and kind of turning to the wheel is not easy, and then what happened? They don't play anymore. Eventually the project is failed. The people try to run to the wheel, it's a hard work for them, so they don't want to do it. How can we fix the problem? That's why before we start some project and before we start community development, so we got to think about a lot. We need a plan strategically, not just that's good and we build in this way, it's okay. Not really. We got to think about the geography. We got to think about the climate. We got to think about their cultures and how we get the outcome that we want. How can we work together after that? So that's why we got to plan it. We needed to plan, and we got to approach the plan with it strategically, not just it's good for us, good for them, good for us, and why not? No, the kind of approach doesn't work all the time. So today we're gonna talk about the strategical understanding of missions. It's based on Tom Horn's kind of papers, the mission strategy. It's really nice, but there's not many specific examples, but there's a lot of examples, understandable, and then it's helpful. Especially you don't know how to make a strategic for mission that you have been involved, maybe your church would involve in the future, right? So before we jump in, and then what is the mission strategy? What is the strategy in missions? Just think about why we need a strategy. There is some purpose, the task that we need to achieve, right? Always there. We try, as a Christian, and then while we are doing the mission, try to reach out to people and try to share the gospel and help them to grow in God's word and what? Live as a God's people. That's our goal of missions. So there's a lot of way there to carry out this our purpose. So how can we plan it out, right? And what is the first stage? What is the second stage? What is the third stage? What is the expected outcome? What if we don't meet the outcome that we are expecting? We are expecting, and we gotta fix it. But sometimes fixing the problem is more effort, more resources, more money. Sometimes just abandoning the project is easier than just fixing. That's why we gotta be careful. And then, that's why, and we need a strategy because how can we share the gospel effectively? How can we help the people grow in Christ, effectively? How can we do that? That's why we need a strategy. But sometimes, but one more thing that resources are always limited. Right? Just think about peoples and prayers and finances. It's always limited, not endless provided someone. And after COVID and once economy hit the bottom and it's already mission agencies and missionaries, churches are struggling with the economy because they run by the donation from the church members, from the companies, right? But economy is downward, and then what? They make less, and their donation is less, right? It's very limited. So how can we make these resources maximize and then help people others? And how can we maximize our ability to reach others, and then help them to grow, and then reproduce what they want in their culture. So it's a strategy. It's kind of direction that we go, right? It's not a short-term plan that we need to achieve. Just compare with the tactics and the terms used in they used in the military. And tactics are similar, but it's a very, very detailed and then time-bounded plan. That's a tactic. But strategy is kind of a direction how we can go. And then you have strategy, and then just think about each period, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and there is specific tactics in terms of how can we achieve in this period, and what about next period, like that, right? So think about the strategy in church context. So here is he said a mission strategy is a well through thought. through and we have prayed through, plan that if follow, we will bring out the Lord will and the fulfillment of the goals that set by the church for maximum mission impact. That's the mission strategy in church context. So before we make a kind of strategy and just pray about it, and then how can we maximize and carry out the goals that church set and the goals that God commanded us, right? That's why we need the mission strategy. Okay, why have a mission strategy? It's the same, it's a little bit different aspect, but just think about if you don't have a mission strategy, and then we can waste a lot of times and energy, resources, and we cannot achieve what we really want to achieve, right? And that's why, and how can we maximize our resources for the kingdom of God to reach out to people? And that's why we need ask God's directions. God's directions. Sometimes we don't know what God really wants us to do, but try to, while you guys playing and pray, and then try to get insight from others, from the resources, and then we can do it, right? So, the strategy for church leadership to earnestly seek God for direction. That's really good. It's not just a way that we based on our experiences and based on the others' experiences. Sometimes context is different and people are different, and we cannot bring the example from other contexts. We cannot. It's totally different, right? So even though we try to plan to something similar models in communities, so we gotta study and we gotta know what's the difference, how these people are different from their people, what's the cultural context. That's a lot of a problem that we church kind of had failed something, try to implement in their church, like a program. And I grew up in Korean churches, and then always there is kind of a trend. Oh, this is nowadays, and discipleship, and nowadays, and evangelism, and nowadays, and different, all the programs going on. But what I observe from the pastors doing, and it's the same thing, it's the same thing in the mission. And people usually, the missionaries bring the program from their own experience and from their own countries to the mission field. They don't think about cultural difference. They don't think about environmental difference. They don't think about people's difference. People try to plant the program as it is. Because that one is successful in the church, in the area, maybe it works to our church. They don't think about the factors the unique factors that they have. That's why we gotta pray to get an insight from God. So we have limited sources, and then if we want to be a good steward, if we want to have the good stewardship for the kingdom of God, we got to manage our resources very well. We don't have to waste it, right? That's why sometimes we don't plan very well and we waste a lot of resources and hurt others too. Sometimes strategies can be encourage the people stretch their faith. Think about nowadays we don't have that much, but when we make the strategy, what is the first step and third step, and then we cannot see the outcome. We are expecting though, but sometimes it's not sure. But with the faith, right? We cannot do everything very well, but still we rely on God and keep praying to God and we deal with all problems in faith, in prayer, and we can do something even though it's not that successful. Sometimes we fail. We learn a lot of things from failure. And strategy, and we want to involve in mission with the strategy, and we have church has unified the heart and directions. I don't know whether you guys go to church and then just think about what is the direction of mission in your church. Some church doesn't have it, right? Some churches don't have the direction of mission, and just sending out the missionaries and support the missionaries, and then sometimes sending out the short missions. Okay, high school needs to go, college needs to go, and another thing needs to go, and we visit the missionary that we sent off, right? There is no direction. I don't know how many churches have direction for missions. That is one of the big issue that we have to solve. This is there is a clear mission statement on missions. What do you want to do? Right, mission statements, and what we are dreaming of. That's a vision. So it's really important to the strategy and then to bring people's heart together and work together. And another last one is that the strategy permit the church to be held accountable. Sometimes we don't know what we're doing. Who's gonna take responsibility for when we made a mistake? Sometimes we don't know what is a better way. And that's we need accountability though. Right? And if we don't have a specific strategy, then who's going to take a responsibility? And dump on the others and blame others? That's a disaster. So always, I don't know whether you guys have learned how can you make a strategic and a plan, and always there's a plan, it's a step by step, and then you got to evaluate it and then just check it. Sometimes we don't have that one, there's no cursor to check. We don't know whether it's successful or fail. Is it fixable or not fixable? We gotta know that one. So I don't know. A lot of Korean churches and they support the missionaries and they send out the short missions, but they don't have the directions. Just think about small churches. Mission is God's commandment, and helping missionaries is good, and helping the poor, helping the poor is good. That's why we send and we try to show them what we have. But just think about if we want to become a faithful steward who take care of resources very well. Why? We gotta be prudent. We gotta be careful. Just think about, I don't know whether you guys are doing the stuff, and then you gotta learn the trend, and you gotta analyze, you see that how company's doing. And then, oh, this is time to buy this stuff. Well, oh, this is time to sell this stuff. How can you decide? The mission is God's business and God's enterprise, right? My stock is maybe your business. That's why we need a strategy. We need a strategy. It's really good for churches and give them directions and put all congregation hearts together and create direction and maximize their limited resources, and then what? It's accountable, right? That's why mission strategy need for churches. Yeah, there is a lot of examples in the Bible, and sometimes, they just think about one example in how the Israelites can destroy the Jericho. You know, it's really funny. It's really funny. They don't fight with the Jericho people, right? They just one day is walking around with blow trumpet, and the second day 2 rounds, and third day 3 rounds, 7 days. And then suddenly they blew out the trumpet, and then the walls of the Jericho is collapsed. There is a strategy that we cannot understand, but still that's a strategy, that's a process, and something is done. And when they go to Canaan and they destroyed the Canaanites and one by one, and always they talk to God. But once they don't talk to God, and what happened? They lost the battle in eyes, right? Just think about Paul, how he did ministry. He didn't go to the first time in the first journey, he didn't go to the Gentiles. And always he go to the diaspora community, Jew community. They go to synagogues and teach and talk. But later on, he expanded expanded to the Gentile, because he felt that he called from God to bring the gospel to the Gentiles, and really focus on the urban ministry, the city. Not he didn't go to the rural area. What about the Deuteronomy chapter 6, and how can you teach your kids, your families? There is a specific strategy, it's there. What about Paul? And he don't wanna rely on, and he don't wanna give too much burden to the people, and then he worked by himself. And just think about the evangelization in Acts 1:8, and then Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria, and then the end of the world. First, they start from Jerusalem and Judea, another part of the world. And Samaria, they really don't like the people, because they mixed and they compromise with the Gentiles. And then after beyond the place that they cannot see, Yeah, there is examples, and it's not just to do, right, without any plans. And just think about planning is really, yeah, part of the strategy, whole thing together, and then, right? So there's a lot of examples, and then think about it when you read the Bible. Jesus Christ, um, he he called the 12 disciples. It's one of his strategies. Not of, they are ordinary people. It's not they are yes, they are really rich people. They are not well-educated people, and they are not a kind of scribes and Pharisees. Because he wants to teach them, and later on he wants them to take over his other ministry, rest of his ministry. That's a strategy, right? So how can we develop the mission strategy? How can we develop the mission strategy? Maybe it's the same as you guys planning something. Just think about how you can start a business, right? How can you start a business? How can you make it successful and then what? And then you can, and there's a kind of you can put it up to the stock market, and then you can be rich, right? That's what people say it's a successful business. Before you do something, and if you want to make a really good strategy for missions, and we gotta collect the information though. Just think about, and also collect an accurate record of missionaries and project you support, right? If you don't know the missionary who you are working with, then we don't know whether he is capable for this project or not. And sometimes, because we are not in the field, and we don't, missionary who lives in the field, in the field, and maybe they better know all, circumstances, and cultures, and peoples, right? And political, economic situations. And that's why we gotta talk, and sometimes we gotta study. So nowadays, it's a lot of mission agency who consult with. You can consult with, and then there is a lot of books out there, right? So sometimes, if you know the missionary, you send a missionary, and then maybe not just one missionary, and then maybe here and there, and collecting, their perception may be different, right? So that you can get information from missionaries, and maybe libraries, and maybe from other resources. So, and if you kind of record from that, and then delegate research responsibility to the mission committee members or other interested people, and okay, we're gonna make a big project and strategy, and then people are interested, and then they can work together. Maybe they have experience with the business, and they can experience with the crossover, and business in other countries, but we gotta do very well though. Nowadays, one of the popular mission trends is business as mission. So a lot of countries, the missionary cannot go in and then work for mission, and then people try to, like a tent maker, and try to make a platform with business. And they go to country and open a business, and then they try to, as it is, just do the business and then make money and try to invest for the community and people and missions. I know the one actually company, and then the business was really successful, right? And the part of their earning, they invest part of earning to communities and educations, and they really treat the employees very well. Maybe they know that they are Christian, and then they are different, and then they ask about religion, and then you can just share. You don't have to force them. You don't have to go to the street, and then you don't have to proclaim the gospel on the street. That's one of the ways. But what I try to say is that sometimes they want to do business, but they don't know the laws, and they don't know the people well, but they start the business to stay in the country. Eventually, the strategies fail, right? So we gotta know them all things, and sometimes you need some mentor from similar business, the people who runs similar business. Nowadays, there is a lot of organization that supporting business. Not a lot, but I know that the organization, they reviewed their project, and then it's a plausible, and then they loan to them to start the business, and then they connect with a kind of mentor who are Christian businessmen, right, like that. But there is a lot of different direction of their BAM, and I know that the organization, they said that even though we make a lot of profit and make monies, and then we don't give the impact on the community, the business fail. It's very, very, very different from other people try to make a profit as much as they can, and maybe they can use the money for the community, but this organization try to think about the impact on the community as a Christians. That's the priority. Even though PD is very successful in eyes of the people, because the business produces a lot of profit, but the organization concluded if they don't give them impact on community, the business fail, and they close down. Sometimes, they kind of lose the money on business, but still give them to the community, impact on the community, they still support. And then survey the leaders of the church as to what they feel is strategic missions, how they feel, and get the idea from them, and then what is the reactions, and then that's from mission field, and from the literature and other studies, and they get information from your church members, right? Leadership, and then collect the information from others, models, similar things, and then so just think about collect the information as much as you can, right? It's like here is four ways to collect information. Survey leaders of the church is really important, because church is influence on the church direction, and then they can put together. I mean that they put the same direction, and they can unite. They can make unity, right? So that's the first step. first collect information. And then just think about how can you consolidate the research and your studies. Right? How related and there's a relevancies and there's no relevancies, and then what is you have to be careful, and what is there's a red tape. You're gonna know all kind of stuff. But a lot of people, they don't think about the law of the countries. You should, before you plan it out. Later on, it's going to be really big trouble. In the beginning, you guys are doing good and it's okay. But later on, the rest of the relationship doesn't go well, and then what? They do something, and then a lot of case was an mission project, and they just hands up and they have to, they had to leave their countries. So you gotta review and put together all data and interviews, and then just think about, and you can make a call. You can make a call meeting and show the all data, and then make a kind of a basic outline and strategy and draft, and then what happened. Present the finished mission strategy to the church. How you get some feedback though, and maybe there are sometimes, even though we don't think about it, but some people have idea about that one, right? But always you gotta know the last one, when you make a strategy, and be aware of the certain roadblocks in the development of the strategy, right? Sometimes each idea is really good. Okay, we gotta do this one. But always when we do make a strategy, and then we gotta think about the context, not our context, and then the context of the country that we wanna involve, we wanna do, right? And expect some roadblocks. What are the obstacles on the way? Always. And prepare for that one, and sometimes how we're gonna respond when you do have this one and this one and this one. Because if you have a research, and then not only a project, and they have whether successful or not, and it is successful or not, and there's a lot of roadblocks, and that's why we need to research. That's why research is really important, right? And then just to remember the mission field, and then your church, and then studies from the academy, literature, from the last one is from the other ministry and models, right? When you make a strategy, and then we need some, we need to consider, right, to better strategies, and then just think about what you wanna do, and then what direction you wanna do, and then maybe there's a lot of previous work there and previous studies there. So that's why consideration of the previous strategies. And here is some ministry, and then what is our focus? Our focus is rural or the urban. It's totally different. Just think about we really want to focus on the rural, but our thinking about we are living in the city and thinking about our concept, right? We cannot do that. It's always different. So it depends on the ministry. And it's a rural setting or urban setting. What about the coastal area or inland ministry? In the coastal area, it's really, really easy to reach out by, at that time, it's like modern missions, around the 19th, 20th centuries, and coastal area is really easy to reach by ship, but that was good. And then later on, well, just think about in coastal area, inland is totally different. And what is the kind of trade cities, mostly is a coastal area. It's a lot of cultures and kind of influence and out. A lot of influence coming in, right? What about the inland? Inland people is kind of it's limited to the outside. But nowadays, internet is available, and social media is available, and maybe they are open, but depends on city or rural. What about the medical and education ministry? Right? And we are Christians while we help the people. They are ill, and how can we help them? And I know a lot of medical ministries there, and some people really, really keep an impact on their life. One of the American mission things I like is kind of Operation Smile. So I don't know exactly, I don't remember, but Operation Smile Operation, I don't know. Sometimes it's really confused. And then, a group of people, surgeons and anesthesiologists, and medical doctors, and then they get together and go to other country, work with the country, there's a hospital, hospital of the country, and then they surgery on collect the lips. Collect the lips, and then it kind of collect, the leaves are collected, and the teeth are really, ugly, and then try to make they make a surgery and make perfect. It's almost $300 per person, really. But why we can just with the $300? People really willing to volunteer. But what I want to talk today is if you want to do an education and medical missions like that, and then always some country cannot practice with the foreign license. You gotta know that. Even Mexico. But a lot of mission team goes down, they do something. They don't have any cooperate with the native doctors. Usually when you want to work with the native doctors and the medical teams, and then they work under their license. That's why they covered. But a lot of medical teams, and they go down, they do some medical treatment, and they come back. It's illegal. I know it's good work, but something is good and it's okay sometimes, but bad things came, and then it's not okay. What about the emergence of missions and mission societies? It's a lot of missions, mission society came out and support missions. How they do? right? And we gotta learn and what happened and what are the available, what was focused, and then we can see that one. So what about go anywhere? No, we cannot go anywhere, right? So just think about previous strategic consideration from the modern mission movement, right? There is a lot of movements there, and the urban ministry and the medical missions, and then just previous they started, and then found solid and for the next and see how they do it. And what about the contemporary strategic consideration for missions? Nowadays, what mission we are doing, and we gotta know that. Sometimes we don't have enough idea about what you wanna do, and then you cannot plan the right strategy. There is a church planting movement. Okay, how can we evangelize a person, and then how can we plan a church with them, right? That's a church planting and urban ministry. Just think, after industrial revelations, and then nowadays a lot of many people don't live in the rural area. It's hard for their living. That's why young people moved to the cities, and then what happens? Do you know the inner city life? Inner city life? Yeah, you can see. And if you go down Tijuana, and then I know their lifestyle is different from us. So you gotta know them. Sometimes, their house is really when they rain, and then rain is dripping inside, and it's really it's looking poor, right? But they have their own lifestyles. I've been in Tijuana about more than 10 years, and then I had engaged with one church, and we tried to have the missions, and then we realized in the beginning it's a lot of problem, and there's with the churches, and then water is leaking and really cold, and it's hard. But sometimes on Sunday, they have a different culture. What I want to say is that they have a different culture, and just think about a lot of people have money, and they're blah blah. Okay, how do I use my money? I think that I really emphasize education, and then I used a lot of money on education. But some people say that they will emphasize on education, and you're not go have good food. They can travel and go. So it's totally different though. My friends, he likes to eat, he's really looking for good food. But I don't looking for the good food, and just any meal I can eat is enough. But I really emphasize on the education, not just the school education. And like this, if my daughters wants to learn like different sport, and then she plays tennis, and then and then one day, and during the pandemic, can I learn golf? And why not? And I'm willing to support like this, and different ways that we can spend the money like this. And then when you go to other cultures, you gotta know how people are different from you. Don't assume that they are like you guys, right? They're not like you guys. No, don't assume that. What about another ministry is tent making nowadays, and then like business mission, and if you have any special skill set, and then like doctors and nurse and any computers, and then you can go to another country that needs you guys, and then you can get a job and paid by the companies or government and hospital, and you can make your own living there and try to show the what is a Christian life, right? So you gotta know that the missionary sending churches, how they send the missionaries. A lot of different, I read a book, and that's a big churches, and they have different models, right? And some churches are really interested, a church is really interested, and they send the missionaries, and then they fully support the missionaries, and not nowadays, not like that. Usually part of the fund, churches support the missionary, and the missionaries kind of get a support from others and friends and families and other churches. But this church is a fully support, even though they will send a lot of missionaries instead, and then but still fully support, and they work like a certain year, and then they need a break, like a sabbatical year, and they come back to the church and as a part of church staff, and they do church ministry like that. It's a very, I never seen kind of a model, but a lot of churches doing their own things out there, so we gotta know. What about national missionaries? National missionaries are different from the missionary that we are sent. National missionary means that the people in the local countries, local country, right? In the mission field, and come educate them and train them, and make the missionary to unreach the people, their own people, sometimes. Like India and like Brazil and maybe they can send out to other countries, but they have a lot of direct and a lot of people's group, and they train them, and usually maybe people who lives from other area, they speak two, three language around their town, and then maybe the missionary equips the nationals, and then send them to other area. That's the national missionaries. What about international students? So United States, about, I don't know, it was a little bit old data that I had, and then 600,000 international students. Mostly about more than 60% is going back to their own countries after study. I can see a lot of people who came over as an international student, and then they kind of became a Christian, and they kind of turn over their life and became missionaries, became pastors, became Christians. It's really important. Sometimes they don't know what to do here, and then if you help, and if you show the kind of favors, and because they are very impressed, and then open to the gospel because of it, and they become a Christian. I know the lady once. She's from China, and then she used to be an international student, and then she shared her story, and then became a Christian because of the host family. Really nice, they are Christian, really nice, and care for her, and then she became a Christian, and then she's doing the same things. She tried to reach out to international students and open. Maybe I don't know it sounds like she runs her kind of stay home and then try to be nice to them like that. The axis of mission, the Christianity is shifting, right? And North and Western Christianity, the population of Christianity is decreasing, like rivers, like compared with early 20th centuries. Nowadays, totally rivers. And there was the South. We already saw last week in South Korea, the South, in the South, and the Christianity is growing. We call the majority world, two-third world, and developing world, what about, and whatever, and then, And they send a lot of missionaries, like Korea. I don't know exactly how many people, but they more than 200,000 people. What about Brazil? What about Nigeria? What about Mexico? They're sending out missionaries. What about China? I heard, the church is sending out missionaries, but I don't know how it works. There are a lot of struggles. What about the social concern? What about when you send out a missionary to America? What was the big issue nowadays in America? Right? So we gotta learn that one. We gotta learn what is the social issue in the countries. Nowadays, it's inequality is a big issue. Racial issues are big, right? What about other scholars and missionaries said? Research and literature. Sometimes if we don't read the literature and research and studies, and then maybe the listening to missionaries is very, very limited. They are talking about their experience, but they cannot see the whole picture of the country, right? That's the one of only just think about missionaries, and maybe they are in the urban area, and then a lot of things going on with economically and politically and involved in the city, and they can think about it. But usually they go to a certain area and then not impacted by the political politics, and not that much by economics, and then it's totally different. I know they are poor, right? That's why we gotta study, we gotta see the other research and literature and kind of innovate from the other. Even though just think about Indonesia is a big country, different islands. But sometimes we say as a sending church, and we send out the missionary, and then she's doing there, and then she comes back and report, and we dreaming about Indonesia, about the kind of report. We had idea about Indonesia based on the report that missionaries are giving out, right? But it's not. Once I went to Phoenix, and then I tried to look for the apartment for my daughter. She's moving from Nebraska to Phoenix, and she's in graduate school. And then she said, one of our apartment managers, she said that, and then, she said, California is a separated countries. She tried to say that the government controls the people. But she said that in Arizona, and we can do whatever we want. She said that. It's a different, right? Just think about, and even America is like California and Arizona, and maybe it's very so there is a as a neighbor state. What about the non-residential missionary and adopting unreached people group? I don't know. Non-residential missionaries, and you cannot stay in the country legally, and then usually Muslim countries and other communist countries you cannot stay more than 3 months without visa, right? And that's why, and then sometimes you cannot do any religious activities now allowed, and then you cannot do anything, and then you stay neighbor countries, and then you do something, and maybe call the native people, indigenous, the people who and train them back and like this, and then that's a non-residential missionaries. You don't stay in their country, but maybe neighbor countries, and then still support and do missions with the people in the countries. What about adopting the unreached people group? Still, how many unreached people groups out there? Yeah, still 700 something, I think. Yeah. Unreached people group is the Christian number of Christians is less than 2%. They cannot, they cannot support themselves. That's why we call them unreached people group, and then that's the countries people groups is allowed. Why don't you adopt the people group and try to reach out and then help them to and know the gospel? There's a consideration though. When you there is a law, there is a kind of current issues, and then topics and trend, and then how can we do? How can we involve what we want to do? Like this, okay? Just that's the consideration though. What about the current trend missions? There's a ministry and the current trend missions. And we gotta think about the trend, regarding mission field. And what is the population? How many people? And how many people are the religion? How many people are Christians? How many people are Muslims? Or how many people are Hindus? Like this. So we got to count the population factors. What about the social factors? What about the wealth? How many people are in poverty? Right? What about the social issues? What about political factors? So what is a dictator controlling countries, or the communist countries, or the liberal countries? What is the country factors? Political factors. What about those receptive factors? Can we stay? How long we can stay? What about our activity in the countries as a missionaries? Okay, just so we gotta know the kind of factors, and then what about the mission forces and churches? Just our church, think about our churches. And what about how the other churches doing and engage in missions? And what about the mission agents? What they are doing there? And any specific mission, any agency has a specific direction for this area and this ministry, like frontier mission, they really focus on the frontiers, the Muslims, and unreached people group, like that. What about the training institutions? We gotta know that, okay, how they train the missionaries. And when we send out the missionary, and then just think about, we can send out which kind of, send the missionaries through which agents, and how they want to send out, how the mission agents train the missionaries, our missionaries. And they don't have any mission training, and how there is a lot of international mission training institutions. They provide 1 month or 2 months, like a training. So we gotta consider that one. What about the resources? How many people are support? What about prayer? How many people are interested? What about finance? How much we need? How can we get the fund? How can we support? How can you use the money? The finance, right? That's the we gotta consider. Think about it, and then we'll be sending out the missionaries, and then depends on the countries, and then spend a lot of money money they need. Like depends on what they covered, and depends on if you're sending out the whole missionary family, family of 4, and then around 4 family, and then around depends on the mission agencies at like 6,000 to 100,000 per month. But like other missionary, like a Korean missionary that I used to work, and then maybe if you are single, and 2,000, if you are family, and then 3,000, like this. Depends on. But just think about which country you are going to. If you go to Japan, and then the living cost is really expensive. If you go to Brazil, and the living cost is really expensive, right? If you go to other countries and Indonesia, I know you're gonna stay in a certain area as a foreigners, and then maybe it's expensive, but still other things are cheaper, right? So you gotta know the whole finance. What about the statistic trend on missions? It's a lot of statistics out there, and then depends on the year, and then credibility, but almost the same, but depends on the year is different, and once and they publish, and then we kind of cite the statistic. Here is a lot of statistic there, and then around what of the world population? So nowadays around 8 billion. That one is 7.3 maybe around 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, 10 years ago, like this. And what is the population though? And then you can guess after based on that year. And then what about the Christian population? Is about approximately around 1/3 of the populations are Christian in the world. And what about 1.7 billion is a Muslim, but Christian population and Christianity is kind of degree, not is increasing, but compared with the Muslims, and then sooner and later the Muslim gonna catch up to Christianity, because Christian countries, the people don't have a lot of kids, but in their country still they don't have a lot of country, but still natural increase of the population is growing. That's why I don't know. That's the kind of expectation, and 1.1 billion Hindis, and there's almost 979 non-religious people, and Georgia project provides a lot of statistics, and if you are interested, and then there's a give out to the rest of the unreached people's group, and I prayed every night for the unreached people group. Also provided by Joshua Project. So, like last night in the Lodi, it's like in one of the people's group in Burkina Faso, Africa, like this. And then, there's a very brief introduction of the people, and then there's a prayer request, and then we pray together. So, like there's a lot of statistics out there, so you're gonna consider that one. And then some statistics shows that if you don't have to send the missionaries to the country that already a lot of missionaries already evangelize a lot more than 10%. Is you cannot. That's why and my organizations, and we don't send out a missionary to the Philippines. Already, packed, right? They said, the country said that we don't need missionaries anymore. But I don't know if you guys remember that the like a point that your temporary window, right? Still Islamic countries and Buddhist countries, and then Hindus countries, and then they need more, the countries need more missionaries, but it's really restricted, limited, So nowadays a lot of missionaries stayed in the city. Strategically, maybe people are coming to the city, but what about people are in the rural area? They need the gospel too. Right? That's a really good strategy. And then I heard about a mission agency, a ministry in Nepal, and they try to reach out to the rural area, not focus on the city. They are very unique. I like the ministry. It's more. There's you can see the studies. You can type studies commissions, and then you can go to Joshua Project and click the resources, and then here is at least the least evangelized countries. 1/3 of the world land area, but 2/3 of the world population. So 61 countries, and there is 73 of the 50 least evangelized nations, 97 of the least evangelized people. That is kind of a statistic, and people who really want to analyze and theories. And another one, and poorest of the poor, average per capita income less than 500 per year, only 8% of all mission work. That's why, and if you know the statistic, and then you gotta know how can you make the mission strategy. And sometimes just think about $100 is not that. Maybe you go and eat out, and then with your friend, just 30, 40, with the tips around $30, $40, just out of your pocket, right? But $30, $40, you can just for lunch or dinner. Sometimes if you go to restaurant, maybe more, less. But if you go to Mexico and then if you go down to Tijuana and then how much they make per day? $10 per day. But if they come over here and they work with the minimum raise and then how much they're gonna make? It's like, even though they don't make $15 or $10, they could make at least $80 per day. Do you know why people really wanna try to come into US? Yeah, that's why when you use money to other countries, don't intimidate others. You just use a small amount of money compared, because you use in America. But if you go down China, just $100 would be 10 days of wages. Maybe I know that the guy who became a lawyer and worked for the government, and then his salary $1,000 per month. Compared with the others, and then if you don't have any skill set, and then they work at the factories and they make $300 to $500, depends on how much you work. So you have a lot of overtimes and you can make like $500 or $400. Right? So don't intimidate the locals with your spending. So once I was really upset with team members while we were in Mexico for short missions, and then I told them, don't play with the food. But they say it's fun. It's fun, let's do it. So I said no. They cannot buy this food with their money. This is really expensive, don't do that. But they did. They don't think about the local people's living standard. How dare, right? It's nothing for us. $1, $2 is nothing, but it's not nothing for them. Just think about, we spend about 10 cupcakes. It's $10. That's nothing. But just think about $10. One of our parents go to the farm and work and whole day it's $10. So be careful on your spending and giving when you go to other countries. Sometimes we're gonna talk about later. So that's we got a concern. Now there is a specific guidance, and then before you make a strategy, and then you gotta understand the basic terminology of missions, right? Missions, missionaries, and then and then we are unreached peoples, and you gotta know the basic terminology and understanding, and then based on that one you can do it. And then what is a vision? If there is no specific vision, you can hit the air, and then maybe the strategy looking good, but no root planning, and how can you support resources, right? People, how can you recruit the people, and how can you get the donation from, and all kinds of stuff, and prayer. All put together. That's the basic principle. And let's just get this one. Yeah, I think basically I give you how can we make a mission? How can we make a mission strategy? It's really important to make our work is effective, right? And there is a Harold Fuller, and then a stage of mission activity and in the field. How can we? That's a really good principle. Depends on, but he divided kind of four stages. Divided to the four stages. How can we build up from the start to end? And he said pioneer stage and parent stage and father stage, partner stage and participant stage. What's the pioneer stage? If you go to mission and then nothing known and you don't know the people and you don't know the Christians. And try to go to people and then and show the gospel and you can make, there's a kind of process, and then, they believe, and you can get the believers, right? And usually work by yourself. If there is kind of local churches there, maybe you can work with them, but usually that's also the not thing. And nothing there, no non-believers, and you gotta kind of dig the ground and seed like this. You gotta do by yourself everything. Parents, and just think about if you go and then some believers there and then start how to equip the people. As a parent, care for kids. So need some teaching skill. So you need to understand their cultures. Right? You need to understand them. What kind of characteristic? You need to understand their abilities, education background, and their ability to read and write and think. That's a step by step, and parenting stage is kind of making disciples. So this is a church is kind of growing. It's a young stage. Just think about kids are growing in like the elementary and junior high and high and college. It's a different level, right? That's parenting. And what about and church grow like adult? And the missionary should be a partners. Partner meaning that you work together, right? Or you can give them some responsibility to them, and then we can get accountability for the work. And then they develop the abilities, and they can run by themselves because they work together. So as a parent, and you do everything by yourself. But as a partner, partners who can take over this part, I can take over this part. But you can have accountability. We get together and talk about our work. You better do this one, and you better do this one, and kind of mentoring period, right? That's a kind of, adult to adult. What about and next level is participant. Through the partnership, and you either delegate a lot of stuff little by little to them. And this is a participant state, and then you delegate the whole ministry to the local churches. They can do their own things. They can take care of the ministry. That's a participant. I'm a participant. I'm the behind. Whenever I can go to the church as a participant. And it means that the local church, indigenous church, is independent. They can run the service, they can evangelize to their own people, right? That's the kind of leadership is fully yielded to the local churches. And just think about the pioneer and parent and stage and partner stage and participant stage. That's a really healthy missions. I don't know how many missions like this. And nowadays we are talking about the sustainable. Let's talk about it a little bit later. And we have the how can we partnership with the local churches. Even some areas always they have their own churches and they can reach out to their own people better than us. And then we work with the local people and then how can we do that? And then when you have kind of a commitment and covenant with the local churches like this, you got to consider the doctrinal position. Sometimes if you don't have, if you don't agree with the doctrinal position, you cannot work together. So when I was in Korea, and then a mission agency came to the try to work with some Korean churches, and then I was there every month. They have a prayer meeting. I went there because I was interested in mission, and then finally they separate because Korean church is a lot of church of what? They are Presbyterian church. They don't do baptism like merging in the water. We use the kind of sprinkle the water, right? But Baptist churches, they want to be kind of into the water, right? So much water, and then that's a baptism. That's a different though. Maybe we practice same thing, but interpretation is different. But okay, we want to keep this way and we want to keep that way, and then they don't agree and they separate. Like this. The doctrinal position is really important. What about the mutual trust? If you don't trust each other, then you cannot do partnership. Yeah, partnership is really, really need nowadays. But that's why when you think about partnership with the local churches and this one, and mutual trust and genuine commitment, in that they are really interested in mission work and interested to reach out to people as a Christian. We are really genuinely supposed to do them for themselves, not for ourselves. Our mission is for ourselves. And if you go to poor countries, they know where money comes from. So they don't genuinely commit to the ministry because they want to do work together because of the sponsor. There is the identity we gotta identify the problem and domination trends. And what about the challenge of the right partners? Think about it. You gotta consider it. What about lack of the proper term of agreement and condition of service? They just signed, sometimes it's not important. Depends on the culture. But the American culture is if you signed, you gotta keep it. If we don't, it's done. What about the worldly difference? And I went to Mexico, and then he's a local pastor, and then I worked with him, and then he said one day, I know that a lot of Korean missionaries came to Mexico, and they did really good things for them. But unfortunately, they don't understand the Mexicans. Wow. He said they don't understand Mexicans. It means that the Korean missionaries don't understand the Mexicans' worldview. There's a cultural issue, there's a theology issues, and it's a lot of issues out there, but it was really shocked. And so attitude, what about personality trait? You gotta consider all things, and then before you see the partnership, and not just sign up, okay, we want to project this one, can we work with it? No way. Just think about when you start with your business, and then how you can get a partnership. How can you work with it? It's not just agenda, right? Clear goal is there, and clear responsibility there is, a clear commitment is there, and then you can do it. So just really things that you're gonna think about, and effective partnership, and then that is kind of a suggestion is and it's from Southern California Mission Board, and then servant-minded. We are willing to serve them, even though they are poor and less educated and less help, but we're willing to serve. And there was a pastor lead who are in the mission field, not us, he is, and we are here in the United States, and then who's gonna lead the partnership? Local church pastor and pastor work together, right? And what about, it's not a work, task oriented, it's a relationship oriented based. You gotta understand it. What about commitments? We're gonna commit. Don't take advantage for our own agenda, right? They know that, and they wanna take advantage of the missionaries and the mission teams. It's not just to focus on the own event, like once a month, twice a month, once a year, twice a year. Not just to be short-term focused. Think about how can we influence to help the church grow, and to help the congregations grow in faith. It's not a one day, once a project, it's not maybe 12-week project. I know a lot of the churches are doing the project in there. After 12 weeks, they count how many people participated and so far. So what? How many people are transformed? How many people are really got into, saved their family and saved their people? That is, we gotta know, we gotta see the long-term goal. So if you want something that's a special project, and should be the project should be contextualized to the current, the local culture, and until they used to, they know, and then we can mentor them until they reproduce by themselves. Sustainable mission is like the mission that I already told you, and then the Harold Fuller in the participant stage, and then whole leadership yield to the local churches, and they run by themselves and they sustain by themselves. They're sustainable. So think about when you make the mission strategy, and then I already told you in the beginning, the church don't have like a strategy, and they just go and do something and do good things and kind of give out something that I have. It's not a mission though. And watch the Poverty Inc. and read the book when helps hurt people. We tried with a good mind, go hard to try to help others, but you hurt others. Have you thought about it? No? And read the books, and there's some stories, and if you watch Poverty Inc., you can see what they are looking for. Sometimes it's totally different from us. Okay, so I hope that it help you to think about mission strategies for churches, for missions, and then if you